take a minute and talk about frost covers, things that you can cover plants with to get them through a light to moderate frost so that they can continue to grow while the days are still warm. So sometimes we're getting frost when the night's cold, or it may be cold for just an hour or half an hour at dawn, but the days are still plenty sunny, bright, and warm, and a lot of things can keep going through those if they're protected. You can see here in the distance I've got some zinnias. Those I obviously did not protect. It was a bit of a large patch to protect. We've got some mums that were surviving these light and moderate frosts just fine. We've got behind us some pumpkins. Had these been on the ground and had I covered them, those probably would have survived the frost. But the key is you need to pick the right covering. So a lot of us in former years were told, we used plastic a lot, things that came like the sheet plastic that came on the rolls. Plastic is a decent covering with a few caveats. You don't want the plastic to actually touch the plant. So something like this Caterpillar Easy Tunnel, it comes already threaded onto the plastic. You just pull it out and it's in a sheet. This can be great for some things, but they need to fit under there, and this plastic should not be touching the plant. The plastic itself, whether it's the sheet or the tunnel, will transfer cold, and anywhere that touches the plant is going to burn it. So if you, say, had a full bed, like obviously these mums are pretty frost hardy, but if you had a full bed of plants like that and you covered it with this the way you would cover with a fabric, then that's probably not going to be very good protection. You might get lucky in a very light frost for a very short amount of time, but for the most part, it's not your best choice. Again, the caterpillars, good for season extension and growing, but only in plants that are small enough to actually not be touched by the plastic. Row cover fabric. Rime it goes by, there's different names for it, frost fabric, it's all about the same. It's a woven fabric, it's light, and this does not transfer cold. It actually lets some moisture and air in during the day, so if you needed to keep something covered during the day, this would be a good choice because the plants are going to continue to be able to get what they need to keep growing when the days warm up. But you can go even cheaper and easier than that. I've got here a tablecloth that was stained in a party. Wasn't worth me trying to wash. I had enough of the others. So I put this aside and kept it for a frost cover for the garden. Same thing with this sheet. We've used it in the garage. It's got some oil on it. It's covered some bikes. It's fine. But it's a nice fabric covering that won't transfer the cold, that will protect the plants. If it's going to be very cold, you could double these up if you thought you needed some heavier weight fabric to that. So those are some of the good and bad options for covering. Couple of tips is make sure though that if you're using something, especially like the sheets or something that's not mounted in these frames, that you are covering all around and you're really pinning that down or weighting that down, especially if it's going to be breezy, so it doesn't blow off the plants or even blow up and let moisture and cold blow in. You'll need to put rocks or bricks or something around that and keep them pretty close, because you'd be surprised how easily wind can get up in there and get under it and blow the whole cover off. So, if you're wading around with bricks and rocks or something of that nature, you don't want to leave more than a few inches of gap of space in between. But if you pick the right covering, take some time, put in a little extra effort, you can actually extend your growing season by a month or more, depending on how your daytime temperatures are warming. But typically in the first frosts, those first weeks when we're getting frosts, your daytime temperatures are coming up quite a bit, and your ground temperature is actually very warm too. So you really can get a lot more growing.